Welcome back to the Beat the Often Path podcast, where we highlight unusual success stories because unusual times, well, they call for unusual success stories. And if there's one thing we know about 2020, it's pretty dang unusual. My guest today is Dustin Barnett, filmmaker, entrepreneur, owner of a chain of highly successful vape shops in Colorado called VaporCore. Vaping, I hear you say, isn't that what's ruining all them kids? Well, we get into the ethics of the business and so much more in our talk today, but most importantly, we discover how Dustin is able to fuel his art and passions with money from a thriving business that he built, and how that combo has been his key to happiness and fulfillment. So with that, let me introduce Dustin Barnett. Dustin Barnett, thank you for joining me on the podcast.
Hey, thanks for having me, man. It's really, really fun.
So the theme of today's episode is the scene from Gladiator where he says, "Are you not entertained?"
Yeah. That's what I was told as my prompt.
Yes. We must entertain as well as inform. High energy.
Yeah.
The podcast space is very competitive.
Oh, that's true. Okay. All right. I'm going to up the energy a little bit more. All right. Here we go.
You feeling fresh? You feeling loose? You feeling ready to go?
Yes, sir.
Awesome. Well, with that, please enlighten us as to what you do. What is your story? What's your career?
I own a chain of vape shops in Denver, Colorado, called VaporCore. I got into it about 6 years ago, right when y'all first started to hate us as a culture. when we were first plugged as the douche flute peddling Satan mongers that the public knows.
And a fun fact, you also sponsored the stadium in Brockmire.
yeah.
That's a little gem for listeners.
That was a little extra thing whenever I watched that show, where I was like, man, I hate how much they have us pegged.
VaporCore presents.
It was really, I was a 3-pack a day smoker.
Okay.
Easy. It's literally like I moved to Colorado when I knew nobody at all. Yep. And so I bought a pack of cigarettes without a lighter. And I was like, okay, I'll go find a cigarette smoker and we'll have something in common and we'll make friends. And then you get just so massively. I don't know, do you ever smoke cigarettes, or are you a cigarette smoker?
I am not. I have smoked the occasional cigarette at parties here and there, but I've never done it habitually.
It's like drowning on purpose.
Okay.
It is. It's like,
that's like, for all the kids out there, it's like drowning on purpose.
Yeah, it's like drowning on purpose.
I have seen that commercial in the 90s, but go on.
And I was living in Colorado, and I kind of just fell into the industry. I was a musician. I was a creative. It's what I always wanted to do. It's still what I always want to do when I grow up, if I ever get there. Is just create and have fun stuff. And then I had what's known as apraxia. So I had a seizure and I woke up with the inability to talk. I could read, I could write, I knew what I wanted to say, but the Broca area of the brain had fractured. And so I talked as if I was a baby, as if I was like a 1 or a 2-year-old who couldn't formulate words. So I went down to Austin, Texas to learn sign language. They have a really good sign language school there, and I really, really wanted to learn there. And on the way, I did a lot of really weird experimental therapies, and I got the ability to talk again. I've got a little bit of a lisp, but I could talk again. And so the number one thing I wanted to do, like the second
I don't have an excuse. I have a lisp. I'm just an idiot. Anyway.
So I wanted to sing. And so I would just, any place that would let me play music in the back, I did. And so one of the things I started playing in the back of was a vape shop. And they did not like that the resident musician was taking a smoke break every couple of minutes to smoke 3 packs a day while he was doing this. So they're like, look, we'll give you a vape. Then I started working there. And there was like this weird moment that was kind of like, you ever saw Clerks 2, where it's like,
I have not.
Me and my buddy were just like, why the fuck are we doing this? And he's like, because we could build up our own money and open up our own goddamn vape shop. And that's what we did. That's really what we did. We put our mind to like just kind of following the ebb and flow of what we thought vapes were going to become. we got really right and we're infinitely wrong probably 24 times along the way. And I'm really lucky to have the life I do.
So the ideal podcast is a sort of hero's journey, as we discussed, right?
Yeah.
I feel like we've knocked out the journey part of the hero's journey in like the first 30 seconds. Like, I got this debilitating disease and then I'm fine. And now I got to all right, we're going to have to rewind. So what is this? What is it? It's called apoxia. Say it again.
Apraxia.
Apraxia. Okay.
Verbal apraxia. Yeah.
And is this related to smoking? Is this a genetic thing? Like, how does it just pure random bad luck?
Thing. It's kind of a string of bad luck. So okay. I have what's known as childhood epilepsy.
Okay.
Which I didn't know until this happened. When it happened, they were like, "How long have you had epilepsy?" I was like, "I don't have elepsy. Sometimes when I'm really stressed out, I like fall down and shake." And they're like, "That's epilepsy." And I was like, "Oh, like 8 years." Okay. And so when you have a seizure, depending on your type of epilepsy, a lot of times it damages the same part of your brain. And so for me, it was just the last straw. It had nothing necessarily to do with smoking, as much as I would love to throw smoking the blame for that and really punch him in the gut. I can't throw that at him. But the apraxia was a wide awake nightmare.
Okay. And through this treatment, how long did this treatment process take?
I believe the first time was a year to a year and a half. Fully talking again.
Now, is that typical? That sounds remarkable to me. Is it normal that people recover fully?
It is very rare that you come back.
Oh my God.
Very, very rare. Oh, this is the first hiccup.
and experiencing this, was it sort of slowly, like I'm gaining a word here and there over the course of a year? Or was it like nothing? Oh, there we go. I'm back online again.
So weirdly enough, so the way that I've heard it described a bunch of ways, but the best ways that I've heard it was the pathway to your brain, that's your motor function from your Broca area to the other part that lets you talk, is like a road. And apraxia works as a mudslide. So the more that you work over it, the more that you could do it. So singing, another language, cursing, all not the Broca area.
Right. And that's what you hear with, like, with people who are in music therapy, patients with dementia, Alzheimer's, that kind of thing. They can sing, they can't remember anything. Fascinating stuff.
Which is great, but I'll tell you, I was not an inspiring person with this. I was definitely hard to be around, mean. And when you do get it right, it's not like a hallelujah. You're immediately back after that. So then that realization, like waking up without legs again. When you're like, but I said a word right. It's like, you still got a long way to go.
Wow.
So it wasn't easy. I think it must have made me funnier. I'm definitely a better listener.
That is, well, congratulations. That's a truly remarkable start here. One quick aside, Austin, Texas, all that it's cracked up to be, yes or no?
Oh, Austin, Texas is like if Boulder, Colorado tried too hard. I love Austin.
Okay.
I love Austin, but they did the whole keep Austin weird thing. And like, I don't think anybody's asking anymore for that. They're also, I love the town. It's got everything and they're really great. The problem is they know it.
And they're like, all these damn Californians moving in here, driving up the price. Anyways.
Hey, you know what? I'm a Texan in Colorado. And so when it comes to like, as a straight white heterosexual man, I was never really persecuted before I came here. As a Texan.
Right in.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. So you're smoking, you have a Clerks 2 moment. You're saying, why don't we open this thing? And your buddy, now this desire to open up a shop, is your buddy the money man in this? I mean, did you take out a loan? How did this go forward?
I have very, very generous parents. Okay. And so, I have no problem saying where I got the money because it was my folks. My dad worked in oil his whole life. Not necessarily like, you believe me when I call you an oil man.
The Texas is starting to make sense. Yes.
He's not Daniel Plainview, but he did his time in an oil field. And my mother was a family lawyer and is now a judge.
Wow.
And so while we were trying to open up our first shop, it was kind of contingent on, will my mom win the election? I'm not kidding. I'm not kidding.
Are you
not
sure this isn't a Netflix show? Because I feel like I've seen this somewhere.
Kidding. I'm totally not kidding at all. And they're basically like, well, we were middle class. They were far from like, wealthy or anything like that, but they put a lot of money into my mother's campaign.
Okay.
And I was like, look, I think I can make this bare minimum 20 grand, 20 grand. I can pay you back within 2 years of this loan. And like, we can do it. We want to see if mom can win the election. And I was like, all right, cool. Do y'all need canvassers or like, what do you need? I think I spent my 24th birthday was election day, like one of her election or maybe a preliminaries or something like that. And I remember it being, let's say, negative 3,000 degrees outside, like shivering forever. And I wish I could say that all I was thinking was like, I hope my mom wins. But I was like, if mom wins, I can open a business. And I was very, very driven. My business partner, his was much, much easier. He's far from spoiled or entitled, but it definitely came from more money than me. I always tell the story of I was there when he realized his grandmother lived in a mansion. Because I was like, we were driving and I was like, damn, look at that mansion. And he was like, wow, that looks like my grandma's house. And I was like, your grandma lives in a mansion? And he's like, yeah, I guess so. It's like, what does she do? Oh, she owns a helicopter company. Like, Jesus Christ. So yeah, my business partner we're left brain, right brain. We are left brain, right brain. He is completely analytical. I couldn't do this without him. And I make it to where he doesn't have to talk to people.
Mm-hmm. So he's the spreadsheets and numbers and all of that.
He learned accounting in like 2 weekends. Wow. Yeah. Just so we got started. I mean, we have accountants now, but
he's the Bobby Fischer of accounting. I get it.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. A really great guy. So we were going to, at this point, with this money, we were going to franchise with a very large e-cig company, the one that we met and that we were working in.
So the $20,000. So that is, you're talking Denver, Colorado, right? Was it a suburb?
Greeley.
Greeley. Okay. So Greeley, Colorado.
Which is where I went to college and I knew was an affordable part of Denver that I at least had a finger on the pulse of the community.
And you're thinking 20 grand, this is going to renting a space on a street that you know? I mean, what's the initial thought with the money there?
Okay. So it was bare minimum. So this was I work for free.
Okay.
We have a showcase with literally, we had 2 devices in every full showcase. It had 2 devices in each one. Mm-hmm. And then we started making our own juice, which at the time was kind of new, but really looked down on because it's not like those other big time vape scientists who went to college for it. Like, I don't know where the mindset was, but it was like, are you really certified to do this? And it was like, man, no one asks a bartender if mixing Jack and Coke takes a degree, man. We're making a Subway sandwich in a bottle for real. So we're
off to a great start. This is fabulous. Well, we had a bathtub and we were just
IKEA furniture
in there.
We had IKEA furniture. We were making our own e-juice and just like the cheapest Wayfair and like Lowe's toolboxes where we set everything up in this way too big for us space in Greeley, Colorado. For the first week, we genuinely thought of starting to sell smoothies because we had more people coming in thinking that VaporCore meant we sold smoothies. Where the math is there, we never figured it out. But it literally was like, dude, for like $2 grand, we can get a smoothie machine. And then the weirdest person is to thank for us helping take the town. I guess 2. First would be Eli Corliss. He's a a show promoter in Greeley, Colorado, owns a theater called the Moxie. If anyone's listening is in the area, the Moxie Theater is the best venue ever that you could go to. And 2 is the rapper Mike Jones.
Mike Jones? Mike Jones? What?
Mike Jones.
You're kidding me.
I'm not kidding.
No.
Mike
Jones.
Mike Jones came to town in Greeley, Colorado. And I was like, I went to Eli, I was like, let me set up a booth. And I'll light up, it'll be like a light up table, and I'll sell vapes. And that was literally the defibrillator, or at least the Kickstarter, the key bump that our company needed to really start jogging our way into this.
Okay.
It was around this time, right when we first started going, that the city decided to ban vaping.
Wow.
So
and
we were dancing.
Was cigarette smoking, that was already banned, right? For some time.
That was already banned. Okay. And Greeley at the time, I believe, wasn't even allowing dispensaries in.
Okay. Yeah, that sounds about right.
So, like, there was no money. It's not like we could be like, but we'll pay you over $200 in taxes. Mm-hmm. So I started speaking at city council meetings, and then I got to the truth of it. And so the truth of it was we had a competitor opening, and this competitor was opening up in historical downtown Greeley, something that there was not illegal, but the city had asked him repeatedly to not do. And he decided to fight them, and this stirred this avalanche.
And they shut it all down. Yep. They're like,
well, they banned vaping indoors, but here's the thing. They didn't care about me. They cared about him. So after they passed it, I'm not kidding, 3.5 years go by where we just ignored that. We just did it anyway. We just vaped indoors. In those 3 years, that guy moved locations 4 times and shut down. His employees slowly moved over to us. He just pissed the city off. And then I think it was about 1.5 years ago, maybe 2 years ago, a guy came in and was like, hey, there's a no vaping ordinance in Greeley. And we're like, oh yeah, but like, we don't do that. And he's like, well, I'm the enforcer, so you have to stop. So we went to city council again. And here was our plan, you see. I was going to go.
With the hat that you're wearing, I like that. Here's our plan, you see.
We had a plan. And it was, I'm going to just tell the truth. And I was like, look, y'all passed this, and we just didn't do anything. But in that time, everything you said that was going to happen hasn't, such as you didn't get any complaints. We never allowed minors in the door. On one side of our shop was a GNC. Another shop was a gym. These are health nuts. Not a word. And they're like, just because you broke the law doesn't make it okay. And they stopped that. So we can't vape inside in Greeley anymore. Over those years, we've opened 2 more shops. We opened one in Fort Collins, which was my second store, and one in Denver. The Fort Collins store is kind of steampunk themed. The Greeley store, the Greeley store is like cyberpunk themed, and the Denver store is covered in abstract arts and giclées of Basquiat and stuff like that. So we try and go real weird and different with it. We try and listen to our customers and clientele.
What's the time frame then between opening your doors and you're successful enough to branch out?
Oh, man, you actually set yourself up for a great story on that. So 6 months.
Cha-ching. 6 months. Okay.
Yeah. So five months in, we are chugging along. We've got now probably 6 mods in each showcase, and people are starting to understand what we are.
Are you breaking even at this point? You're doing.
We're breaking even.
Okay, cool.
We're breaking even. We're treading water. I think at the 6-month line, I had made $1,000, and I was like, I'm rich.
Yeah.
like you look at me. Everybody said I was never gonna make it. And this
that's
guy
smoothie money.
Yeah.
That's halfway to Smoothie Town, baby.
this guy came in who worked for Halliburton.
Okay.
And not like your average Halliburton guy, but like your average, like my dad, like a just an oil worker guy. And he seemed a little, aloof. He wasn't really paying attention. He was just kind of talking about stuff. And he's like, oh, I want to invest in y'all. And we're like, okay, well, we don't really do that. We're just kind of a couple of friends who own a vape shop. And he's like, okay, well, I'll give you $50,000 for 5%. And we're like, yeah, if you could come back Friday, we'll have some papers drawn up. And so we hired a private investigator to look this guy up. We had this guy come in. He wrote us a check. He got his 5%. I have never seen him again. I send him a check every once in a while. I've never seen his face again. I don't remember what he looks like. It just happened.
That's
it just
insane.
Happened. I never saw him again. Don't know what he's doing. Don't know where he's at. Ryan, if you're listening, what's up?
Yeah.
Give me a call. I'm sure you still have my number.
Did he appear from like a circle of smoke in the ground and then disappear?
I just so much of it. And it's so weird because every time I get a fish tank, it boils. And he said that would happen, but I don't know what that's about.
Like there's some crows are just flying into your windows and dropping down.
I'm gonna hit my vape, but that's on brand.
That's on brand. That is truly awesome. Okay, so a little bit of an injection of cash, which is always a question of, did you bootstrap or take on some money? So that's interesting to know. I want to get into more of this, but I think I want to do a quick hard switch just for a second, since we're kind of getting into this episode a little bit now. We have done some pretty interesting things, like we did a CSA box regenerative vegan farm was the guest preceding you. And coming into like vape is a whole different train of thought. So for all the people there who are like, what the hell is this asshole doing? Maybe, I'm sure you have a soapbox here about vaping. You said you've been maligned, or, it's been perceived as this douchey, horrible thing. But I want you to enlighten me and all of us on, is it unfair, the criticism of vaping? What is your thoughts on it as a business? Is it immoral? Is it unethical? Is it bad? Good?
Oh, I think the problem that I have with any type of legislation or regulation on vaping is any problem anyone would have with it. The only difference is I kind of have an indoor look at it. Like here in Colorado, just a quick start off to this. We just had Prop EE. So Prop EE will slowly raise taxing on vaping by 67% over the next 7 years.
Okay.
Now, they say that this will go to preschools. A little about me. My wife, who I've been with for 11 years now, is a preschool teacher. So we had a lot to talk about on this. But really what this does is put a really pretty face on a transparently corrupt thing that they're trying to do. And so what that will do, inevitably, will get people back to cigarettes. If you are spending so much more money on vapes that it's more financially responsible to just kill yourself, guess what? We're addicts. That's why people don't take Oxycontin. They start doing heroin. And unfortunately, once they stop vaping, that means that all that money that was going to these kindergartens now isn't going to that kindergarten. So they've had their cake and they can eat it too. Now, this is some of the very few things that have come to us. Now, there's a lot of things that VaporCore is behind 100%. No advertising to kids. Duh. I got into this industry, God, I want to say in 2013, before there was a federal legal age, which meant you could have sold to anybody if you wanted to.
Is that
we
right?
Didn't.
I didn't know.
Yeah,
that.
We didn't.
Oh,
a lot of at the time, and the industry was regulating itself, such as the industry was doing things like juice companies would say, like, unless you send us a photo of your door where it says you have to be 18 or up to enter, we won't even sell you the juice. And this is just something the industry was doing. We'd have companies. There's one company called Candy King. For all you vapors who are listening, there's a company called Candy King that for a long time, the cover of their boxes were Sour Patch Kids and Twizzlers and Redfish and things like that. These are very popular flavors, but they can go fuck themselves. We have so many eyes on us that there was just no reason to do it. So we wrote them a letter and we said, the moment you change your box, we'll carry your flavors again. Well, a few years ago, or about a year ago, they changed their boxes, and guess what? We carry that flavor now.
So you see yourself as in like opposition to cigarettes, as in a better alternative to cigarettes. That is, so would that be the
100%? I think it is illegal for me to say that they're healthier, so I won't. But in my personal opinion, Dustin Barnett, who has no speech whatsoever for the company of VaporCore and the people that work for them, I think it is an infinitely better alternative. It's proven we have a higher success rate than any other smoking alternative that's ever been around. You can track by dollars and cents the cigarette smokers whose lives we're saving. And whether that means quite literally or just personal growth, health, and mentality, it's very easy to sleep at night. It's very easy.
Obviously, we grew up in the failed DARE generation, the DARE ethics. Say no. Gateway drug being a concept, which I think many of us don't even necessarily believe in. But what would you say to those who would say that vaping is a gateway drug to smoking for kids, that, you know, it's maybe too easy, too attractive, taking too much of a hold, that it might be causing new smokers where there weren't some before?
I would say that I half agree. I think that vaping has the same problem cigarette smoking had back in the 30s and 40s and 50s. It is cool. It is new. It is all of those things. Now, it does not mean that necessarily responsibility falls to strictly the vape companies, rather that we educate people in what this is used for. And I think anyone who's ever worked behind the counter with me has heard me tell 21-year-olds, you should leave. Because they're like, I'm 21, I want to start vaping. It's like, I want you to imagine that you just said, I want to start smoking. I want you to imagine that that's what you just said. Which happens a lot. And anyone who's worked with me has heard me give that speech time and time again. But I think it's right. I don't think it causes new smokers, because I think it's something different. This does one thing that no other smoking alternative has ever done, which is this: makes cigarettes taste gross. This makes it to whenever you do go back, it sucks again. It's like your first cigarette. It makes you cough. It messes up your mouth. It screws with your taste buds. Vaping can help reset that to at least that primal desire of wanting to taste that smoke again is gone. I also think I kind of have a leg up in the success rate of VaporCores, because I also have the marijuana industry here, which has helped countless people stop smoking cigarettes. But
so
I mean, I think
you cater to that market as well now, or
in some stores I'm allowed to sell paraphernalia. I don't sell like bond. It has to vaporize, it has to be high tech, has to be cool.
Right.
So nothing combustible.
Okay.
Some I do, some I don't. At my Denver store I can't. But all the other stores we. But I do think it can start new vapors. I think that's bound to happen. But I think vapes existing cause new vapors, because people are stressed out. We're all addicts. We all have our vices. Yeah. I see no problem with someone vaping. But if that vaping problem is going to come to them imbibing in high levels of nicotine daily, when they could have otherwise maybe sought therapy or meditation or whatever that may be to get your mind off that stress. But sometimes things really suck and you really want to vape. I get that. But I agree. I completely, weirdly enough, I completely agree that it does create new vapors, not new smokers.
And what about, I don't remember what the specific thing is, but there's all, I haven't been following it too closely, to be very honest with you, but people are saying, I think I've heard things like, what is it, propylene glycol or something causes hearing loss, or there's other things that happen from what is in the vape juice. One of
the things I'm super glad you brought this up. So there's the biggest thing that a lot of people will bring up, and it's usually a hot topic or kind of a bullet point that someone will say, is popcorn lung. Have you ever heard that?
No, but it sounds familiar. I mean, I've heard that there's
So
some, the droplets or these
yeah,
things
so there's a
attachments.
thing. There's a flavor of the many ingredients that people use to make flavors. One of the very popular ones to add the flavor of butter is a chemical by the name of diacetyl.
Hmm.
Diacetyl is a chemical that is used to make buttered popcorn taste like butter popcorn. Now, the term popcorn lung is impossible to cause through vaping. I know that because it's only happened once, which is why it's called popcorn lung.
Hmm.
In an Orville Redenbacher facility with a broken ventilator and 2,000 times the recommended dose of inhaling pure diacetyl, these people developed this very bad lung disease. And they found this word and this disease, and that it is in vaping, and they've been attacking us with it. To give you an example of how insane that would be like if I told you one time on a dock somewhere, 3 tons of broccoli fell on a guy.
Yes.
And so you shouldn't eat broccoli because it will crush you to death.
Hey, they're not wrong, man.
It will crush you. Now, don't tell your kid I said that. She'll use that against you forever.
Yeah. I knew it. Yeah, okay, that makes sense. It's kind of shocking that
As
Orville
for
Redenbacher is putting
propylene glycol and vegetable glycerin, they are antibacterial, antimicrobial, and they have been pumping vegetable glycerin and propylene glycol into hospital airs for over 50 years to keep it clean.
Hospital airs.
Every hospital you've ever gone to, you've breathed in basically flavorless, unobtainable vape. You've already done
unobtainable vape, dude. Now that is truly interesting.
Yes.
There's your quote right there. That's the pull quote.
Any hospital you've ever walked into in America does it.
Man, I had no idea. That's fascinating. So
why would they tell you?
Yeah, right. Why would they tell you anything? Okay, this is really cool stuff. So there's obviously a couple different directions we can go here. There's the entrepreneurial story. There's the legislative story. One thing that I wanted to touch on, I know you to be a deeply artistic person. You said at the beginning that you are a musician first and foremost. I also recently connected with you when you were making a film project, so I know you're dipping a toe into film. So this brings up an interesting point about using a business to financially support art, which is something that I'm generally very interested in. So maybe we could touch on, how you feel about that now.
That is my goal. That was the goal of VaporCore from the beginning.
Right.
I wanted to have a business. My business partner has a degree in film editing. Okay. Me and you have a very close personal friend named Zach, who I've been making movies with for about 10 years now.
Yep.
And I've been going off the domino effect. What is it? You start with a domino, and every domino you make after that is 1.5 times bigger. It takes 29 dominoes to knock down the Empire State Building. We're always just trying to make the next domino. And our dominoes started getting expensive. I hear
that.
And so it really started coming down to, like, if we're going to do it, let's just do it. Let's just go for it. I highly recommend, if you're the kind of person who is creatively driven but needs money, find what you're willing to sacrifice. Because for me, that was time. I had the comfort and the benefit of knowing people who were also doing it that I could keep an eye on and talk to them about and do it on my own level, while saying, like, okay, well, I can't do this. Let's make a play. It's like, okay, cool. A play costs this much. We'll do a play. It's like, all right, cool. Let's do interactive theater. That'll cost like $2,000. All right, cool. I'll scrounge up $2,000. We'll get 15 friends. It'll be really fun. But be careful, because at no point, and I hope my business partners feel this way, I've never treated my company as a endless well of money. And so, the best advice I was ever given was from one of my first bosses whenever I delivered cheesesteaks for 5 fucking years. And he said, pay your employees, pay your taxes, pay yourself. In that order.
In that order.
Pay your employees, pay your taxes, then pay yourself. And that has been a guiding force. Those 3 steps have been every last thing. I can't recommend it enough. If you're creative and you're a business owner, and you're like, I need $100,000, I dare you to rewrite it for 10. I dare you, because you'll be amazed at what you can do with that. Because the moment that you start putting these financial roadblocks on your creativity is the moment that doable projects become impossible. It's the moment that, I have a great comic book I've been working on for 3 years, and Zach's like, why don't you film it? And I was like, why don't you read it and tell me if we'll ever have this money? So I would say, like, obviously, if you're the kind of person who would rather die than work a day-to-day job, keep going, man. I believe in you. I trust you. I think that you're totally going to make it, because you would literally rather die than do anything else. Not me. I'm an indoor cat. I like my creature comforts. I like collecting art. I like staying indoors in air conditioning and having a nice place. And if that means that I might not make it sooner, and that as opposed to making 10 movies a year, I make one 30-minute short, I'm really happy with that. I'm really, really happy with that. For me, the goal isn't, I don't want to be a billionaire, but I want to die and win life,
Right. Don't we all?
Yeah, I want to die and have no one say I was boring.
Hey, that's the only thing I got going for me. Do you see yourself transitioning, or is it like, I'm always going to do this? Or, do you see yourself A, transitioning into other businesses, or B, transitioning out of business altogether at a certain point, saying I'm full-time art? Or is it like, no, this is 50% of my life is the business, which will always fund my artistic endeavors? How do you see that going forward?
Oh man, that's a great question. I really don't know. I recently, Zach approached me about starting a laundromat, and I was genuinely excited about that. So
okay.
I would say, like, I don't think I'd ever do a business that didn't excite me. I don't think I'll ever stop working. I don't think I'll ever want to stop working. And I don't really divide my time up like that. Like, really, I'm really lucky in the aspect of, like, my job in this business. We have one person who does all the ordering for all the shops. We have one person who does all the accounting for the shops. And I just kind of travel around from shop to shop, train new people, hire new people, and I work behind the counter. I give the owners time off. And so this year was kind of a weird one for me. Usually I spend 6 months in Greeley and Fort Collins living in an Airbnb. And so come Christmas time, I take 2 months off and don't fucking call me till January. Yeah. Well, this year there was a pandemic and I was like, I'm not living in an Airbnb right now. So do
you own your home or rent?
I rent. Yeah.
Okay.
I rent.
Is that a philosophical thing? Are you one of those people who believe philosophically it's a smarter decision?
I think it's a smarter decision just for me, because if the average home in Colorado, I believe, is $400,000 to $600,000. That would mean that you would want to put down a down payment of $80,000. Yep. I would personally rather invest $80,000 in myself and my other projects, or possibly even open a new business, than invest in a home. And the benefit to that is I can take a fucking shotgun to my hot water heater and have a new one tomorrow.
Yeah.
And so I would say when the housing market absolutely crumbles and we have realistic prices for houses, I'll buy two,
I love that attitude.
Right now, it's literally that one thing that no one ever says in any sales is buy high, That's just,
well, some people say it, but they're trying to sell you something.
Exactly. Or it's only going to keep going up. It's like every market, it only goes up forever.
Yes. Especially now. So, along those lines, I think, what is your day-to-day like?
That's super easy. My day-to-day is that of somebody who works in a vape shop. I will go to work. I usually open it at if we open at 9, if I work there that day, I'll open at 8:30. So we've always been the first shop to open in the state. No one opens before us, and that is a constant thing. You can't wake up before me. And my theory behind that was, if you go to a vape shop at 8:30 in the morning, you need us to be open. Need us to be open.
Yeah, that would seem to be right.
So most of the time, for anybody who doesn't know what it's like to be working in a vape shop, it's the easiest job you'll ever have. It's easier than working in a record store. You sit behind a counter, you vape, you talk with your friends. People who come in always want to see you. It's like you're the guy who fixes their AC. Yeah. If they're mad at you, they're not mad at you. They treat you like a bartender. They open up to you. People have told me stories that'll just bring you to tears. We had one guy in Fort Collins who was a terminal cancer patient who came in to say goodbye because the people told him he had a week left. Unbelievable. That really happened. That was probably about 3 years ago. And he had a fedora. He had a little fedora that he always wore, and he wanted us to sign it. And insane characters. And so, worst days of work you don't bring home with you unless there's something that would ruin every business, like when I've had my windows smashed in or someone broke in or I've never come home from a day of work and just been like, why do I do this? Because it's an easy job. I'm maybe the only boss who will ever say like, dude, we had a huge sale yesterday, tomorrow's Monday, you might want to bring your Switch in. Like, it's a very, very, very easy, fun job. It's about the best experience ever. And what's great is that, we have so many of these high-driven people. Yeah. Vapors are one of the most informed consumers ever. They're always doing research on the new stuff. It's like cell phones 20 years ago where there's a new, better one every week. So when you get one of these customers who's really driven and wants to make the money and just wants to work there, and so many of them work there just for the fucking 50% off discount. Yeah. They are used to these high stress jobs where they have to do shit all day. And like, now what? I was like, dude, we have 800 square feet. Like, sit down, jump on YouTube for a second. The day-to-day is easy. Obviously,
to be very honest with you, you make the whole thing sound easy. Not many people are saying like, oh, I just started a successful business and now I'm doing the art. And are there takeaways from this for other people? Because it's almost like everything just was like green light, green light, green light. It's like, was that just luck that you found the right business at the right time, that it worked out that way? I mean, is there some planning or scheming or something that other people could, because everybody kind of wants that, I feel, right?
Oh yeah. I would say what made it, any success story that I've heard that has ever been worth it to where it always seems easy, it's because they love their job. If my business partner, Devin, had my job, he'd hate his life. And if I had Devin's job, I'd hate my life. I couldn't sit at a computer all day and put these numbers in, but he loves to be home. He loves to be with his family. He doesn't like talking to strangers. He doesn't want to do this. I love talking to people. I love meeting people. I love feeling like I've helped somebody. And I don't mind doing that for 20, 30 bucks at a time, I think that like, if someone's like, I want to open a vape shop, is it easy money? No. The reason that our vape shops are doing so well is because we pride ourselves on, you can't be nicer than me. You can't be nicer than me. And I love decorating. So I think a lot of it is that I love to decorate. I love to put up art. I've always been an art collector, and decorating my shops to make them look different and a fun experience to come into, warm, welcoming, is a huge part of it. If you are a vape shop owner and you are watching, look at your shop, paint it. If you have a white wall, you've already made a mistake. It's one of those things that just the smallest touches remind people. If you have an employee that's, have you ever been to a vape shop?
Oh, I mean, not specifically. I've walked by plenty of them, though. I mean, I know the aesthetic that most of them have.
Yeah, so that guy that you're thinking of, and like, don't get me wrong, I vape.
We've got a lot of those here in LA.
Subaru. I'm wearing a fedora now. I know what I am.
Well, I think there's probably a difference between the Colorado vape guy and the LA vape guy. I'm thinking of a different guy. The Greeley vape guy is not the same, I don't believe.
Yeah, it's true. I don't have any hand tats. Yeah, I don't have any hand tats. But yeah.
Well, he's wearing a hat, but it's a different hat.
So, I mean, I think be as different as you can, be as sociable as you can. Fire quickly. If you have somebody who doesn't enjoy the job, or they're monotone, or they're a poor salesman, like, do that. Also, to every vape shop owner out there, know what you are. We are vape shops. We are here to get you from college to whatever you want to do after college. I had this amazing employee. I don't mind saying his name. His name is Chris Martinez. One of my favorite employees, really helped us whenever he first got started. He was going to school to be a welder. The day he graduated, he called me crying, and he was like, I don't know what to do. This guy just offered me a $22 an hour job welding right out of college. And I was like, what the fuck are you doing on the phone? Hang up and go say yes. Go say yes. Know what you are. Don't fight for your employees if they're moving on to bigger, better things. Help lift them up. You know, let them go to school. Let them get a second job. You know, so many of these people that own a vape shop think it is the end all be all, and it is for me. It is for me. It isn't for my employees. You know, teach, learn, grow, care so much, just care. And as for the question about luck, yup, that was luck, all of it, every last little bit of it. Yeah, I wish I could say I tried harder than the next guy. I think I just liked the job more. I think I just liked the job more than the next guy. I'm so willing to just die behind the counter. And timing. The timing was impeccable. The timing was, it's like saying, like, how did you get so good at Bitcoin? It's like, I don't know. I just kind of bought it in 2011. It's like, yeah,
I just bought it
like,
when it was free.
Yeah. Like it really, like, so much of that is really just, you know, what I really say. I can't recommend enough. If you can have your finger on the pulse of traits and be right, do that.
That's always, I've always noticed the best businesses always seem to follow a trend of some kind, a broader trend. Every startup, you know, I've helped build multiple startups at this point, and the one thing that they've had in common is that they were all riding a wave of some kind. They can be very different, but there's always a wave or the right time to get into the right industry with the right concept. I believe so strongly that these are factors that can't be ignored.
No, not at all. And to, you know, anybody who's doing that, there's anybody who tells you, like, I was never afraid that the bubble was going to pop is a liar. Is a liar. I'm afraid now. I'm 6 years deep and I'm afraid now. Like, any moment, it could be tomorrow where they're like, we banned vapes overnight. And then what do? I become the Al Capone of vapes? Like,
well, you hope you have 3 more years under the radar, maybe.
Yeah, maybe. So much of that time was literally forgetting that was a law.
It's like, oh, oops. What?
Yeah.
Yes.
And we really thought our plan was going to work. I remember being so cocky. It's like, once they hear that no one said anything and that we've already been doing it.
Right,
like,
that always works.
Yeah, no, that makes sense. Yeah, we probably shouldn't do that.
Yes, it was going 100 in a 25-mile-an-hour zone, but everybody's fine, officer.
But, yeah, I've been doing it all the time.
Yeah, like, this is not the first time, and I did it willingly. And, you know, but I think one of the coolest parts about doing this podcast, is that you start to see, I mean, my theory was that the traditional ways of doing things just don't work anymore. I mean, I think we all grew up, and not even so much our generation as much as the previous generations of, you know, you go to school for one trade, you have one passion, there's one thing you like, you're an accountant, you go to accounting school, you become an accountant, and that's just this is who you are. And it's just so funny to me that the more people I talk to, I find more stories like yours. Like, I'm really a musician. But I built a business in vaping, and now and I'm also a filmmaker, because I just feel like that story hasn't really been allowed to come out. It hasn't been highlighted for so long, because people say, like, you know, oh, you used to be a DJ, and you also do marketing, and you also like comedy and late night comedy with Conan and Stephen Goldman. Like, yes, I do. I like all of those things. And I'm good at all of those things. I don't know, but that's weird as hell, but it's true. And I just love hearing stories of somebody who is successful in their own way, in their own definition. And you're like, I'm very comfortable showing up from here from 8:30 to 5 every single day so that I have the money to make what I want to make without begging somebody else for money, which is always a problem in art.
It's my biggest pet peeve. It's the reason why I will just hate people's scripts. Or it's like, what's the fucking plan? Like, someone reads this and gives you $20 million.
Right. That's LA in a nutshell. Well, all the people who aren't making it in Hollywood, that's them in a nutshell. because nobody understands this gigantic gap between the business and the art, except for the people who are already doing it, the Disneys and the studios and whatnot, who they very clearly understand.
Oh, it also doesn't translate the other way around. When I started making Wonderlist, coming soon,
plug it on the screen.
When I started making Wonderlist, none of it worked like business. None of it was like, cool, let's get this guy on and we'll talk to him. He's like, no, we're not filming for 7 months. And I was like, sure, let's put it in the books. He's like, no, that's not how it works. I'll call him 3 weeks out. He's like, what? He's like, yeah, I'll call him 3 weeks out. He doesn't know what his schedule is in 7 months. He's like, who the fuck doesn't know their schedule 7 months from now? I was like, everyone here. I was like, right. Okay, fine. And then I started paying people, and I was like, all right, make sure nobody leaves before I pay him. And he's like, no, we'll pay him sometime within the month. And I was like, what the fuck? No one leaves set until they're paid. Like, I just refuse to do it. So it doesn't translate one way or the other. Which way? It's also the same way of like, I'm currently wanting to fund someone's project. I want to be an executive producer. I want to be on the producer side, something that I didn't write that I can kind of watch from afar. There's no way to protect my money. Almost no way to protect my money, which is something as an investor that I'm just researching like a motherfucker. Yes. Because I want to know a way. I was like, okay, I'm going to give you 10 grand for you to do this, and then you don't do it. Right. What do I do?
Do you know the fastest way to become a millionaire in film?
No.
Start with $1 billion.
Oh, that's fantastic. I could get that tattooed across my chest.
That's
fantastic.
A little gem. There's another one there. Every so often we get one. Yeah.
I was just gonna say, like, and like, look, so much of this for me doing this was a lack of time. So just while we're at the end points of this, about 2 years into VaporCore, I had what they thought was a degenerative brain disease. Told me I'd be dead in 5 years if we didn't know what to do. And so in that moment, I had sacrificed all this time and made nothing. This was 2 years into VaporCore. The plan was make money, go make movies. So I just freaked out. I just started making everything that I wanted to do. Right at that time, when I was diagnosed with that and being like, oh, I'll totally make it through. Best friend goes into surgery, drops dead. The same week. The same week.
Oh,
so
I'm sorry,
it's fine, man. It really what it did was it made me the creative, responsible person that I am now, while embracing the chaos of not taking myself too seriously. But if I can tell you, it wasn't easy, and every last bit of it was, I need to create. I just need to create. If that is not something that you still feel in those moments, don't create. Mm-hmm. Do it as a hobby. Do it as a hobby, because it won't kill you if you don't. It won't kill you if you don't.
Well, you had that moment of clarity where I have got to do this. Yes,
I
must.
I have to do this.
Which I feel that I would be the same way. Yep. I know it well. Yeah. Super interesting, man. I wanted to take this last bit and go into some rapid fire questions, if you think you're up for that.
Let's do it. Lightning round.
Right, let's do a little bit of lightning round. Okay, so first off, do you read? How much per week if you do? And do you read for pleasure or for self-development, business, that kind of thing?
I have recently been reading until the sun goes down every day. I don't have a television, so I have a projector. I also have a bunch of plants. And so if the sun is up, I can't watch television. So I read comic books. I'm writing a comic book, and how I read is I looked up the top 100 graphic novels of all time. I bought every single one, and I'm making my way through. I just read Transmetropolitan. I read for pleasure. I always look for what's next.
Okay, that sounds good. Daily routines or spiritual practice? Anything that you must do each day?
I work out an hour and a half to 2 hours every morning with my cousin Nick. This happened over the last month and a half, maybe.
I'm jealous. That's insane.
Yeah, hey, I'm down 40 pounds.
You're part of like the 5 a.m. club.
7 a.m.
All right.
7 a.m.
Yeah.
Other than that, I smoke a little bit of weed constantly.
A little bit of weed. Okay, got it. Wonderful. Okay, dress for success or dress for comfort?
I'm a fashion snob. Success.
Okay, got
Success.
it. All right, this one is a must make. Must make. What is the answer to life, the universe, and everything?
I want to say 42 really bad, but
Well,
kindness.
Woo!
Kindness.
Kind. That's very nice. All right, that's two excellent answers to that question. Perfect. All right, here's a little funny one. Do the 5 closest people you hang out with, do they represent an approximation of your income?
What do you mean?
Well, you know, they say that you earn roughly what the average of your 5 closest friends or associates earn. Do you believe that
Not
at
even
all?
close.
And is that true for you at all?
Not in the slightest.
Okay, interesting.
Not even close.
Okay. So,
High and low. High and low.
oh, wow, interesting. The 5 closest, 1 higher, 2 higher, some much lower.
There's one that's worlds and worlds above me, and then the rest are much, much lower.
Do you think that the one who's worlds above you helps you push? Would you be doing as well as you are without that person in your life?
No.
So key to have
I would not. Absolutely.
somebody higher in your close circle.
As much as he infuriates me, yes.
Wow,
I need him in my
that's interesting. Okay, no, that's a good little tip. That's a good little tip.
Very close personal friend of mine. Yeah.
Wow. What is more important, talent or effort?
Talent.
Yeah, that sounds about right. So here's another little thing that I always like to ask. So I've read tons I read business books, biographies, autobiographies. That's kind of my jam. I just like real stories. There's something about it. I like fiction when it comes to comedy and that sort of thing, but in terms of books, I like biographies, autobiographies. Okay. So one of the things that is always interesting, I mean, we kind of touched on this earlier, but you read a lot of these books, and it's like they started on a farm, they had nothing, and then after they made their first million, then they invested and they became a billionaire. I'm like, but what happened between the farm and the first $100,000? Like, how did we get to that most important start? Like, I think we all know that you can probably turn $1 million into more if you're not a total idiot. But first 100K, what is your advice to people who are looking to get that first $100,000 for a business or whatever, or an art project?
Oh gosh, sacrifice would be number one. Number one would be, what are you willing to give up for that? If the answer is everything, you can get pretty close to starting stuff out. Everybody's got, probably $5,000 to $10,000 of stuff they can get rid of. It's just whether or not you need it. And then the other answer to that is, what are you willing to do for it? And I'm not saying sell your body, but you could easily become a paralegal or work the front desk at a dentist's office and get full benefits and a nice cushy $40,000, $50,000 a year job for an absolute thing you give a fuck about. But how much can you put away that year? How much can you, sacrifice? Sacrifice. How much pain and discomfort can you be in to get what you want? My answer is a good deal.
That's good. What's your goal right now? What is the next step? Okay,
lifelong goal, quite simple. I want Made by Dustin Barnett to mean anything. To mean anything. Whether you love it, hate it, or don't feel anything about it, I want you to read Made by Dustin Barnett and think something.
And feel something.
Yeah, my short-term goal right now, I'm currently working on a pilot for a television show called Wonderlist, coming soon, that I really hope can show what people my age do in real times of grief and how we refuse to deal with that.
Okay, cool. Very cool. Do you feel successful right now?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, I feel very, very blessed and successful right now. I've always said if I could keep doing this and stay right here forever, I think I'd be great.
That is awesome.
I think it'd be great.
What a great spot to be in. No, that's wonderful. Okay. What is the smartest piece of advice you've ever received?
Oh, It's an old quote, and I'm not going to say who said it because I'm probably wrong, but I see as far as I see by standing on the shoulders of giants. Or Avengers Endgame says something great, which no amount of money in the world has ever bought a second of time.
That's true.
Both of those, I have chills, and those are both very stupid quotes.
That's right. And there's also a very dodgy film made to that effect, starring Justin Timberlake, I believe. Do you remember that film?
I fucking love that film. I rewatched that film. In Time. About Time is great. That's another one.
In Time. Okay, In Time. Yeah. It's one of those movies that's wonderful if you just don't think about it too much. Just don't analyze it. Just go along for the ride, and it's great.
It's starring Justin Timberlake.
Right.
So
it falls apart.
What else do you want, Ross? It seems like you're asking too much.
Yeah, I know. All right. And then speaking of which, we're going to get into our final couple questions. If you're going to be inducted into a boy band, then Backstreet Boys or NSYNC.
And as much as my wife is going to kill me, NSYNC.
Okay, well, there you go. All right, at least
you're
consistent.
Superior boy band. I don't care who knows it.
At least you're consistent. Consistency is important. That's what we're looking for these days. Okay, who do you personally know that has the most interesting or unusual path to success?
Oh, shit. Probably my mom. My mom is from a very large family. She's one of 8 from a very small town that's damn near impossible to get out of. Very, very comfortable town. And she got out, worked her way through law school, started her own law firm, became a judge. She's easily the most strong, successful, just weirdest damn woman you could ever meet in your whole friggin' life. My mom's the one who got all of us into Brockmire. She's the one who called me and was like, if you haven't seen Brockmire, watch Brockmire. She's an incredible woman. I owe a lot to her, including VaporCore.
Including your business.
And dad too, and my dad too.
That is fantastic. Well, that's all of my questions. Thank you so much for joining me. I would like to give you the floor for a couple seconds. Anything that you want to promote, anything you want to draw people's attention to, let it rip.
No, man. I mean, I would say that if you're watching this because you're thinking of owning a vape shop, if you really love vapes, if you really think you can do it, if you love talking to people and you like helping people, it's a very accomplishable goal, guys. It's so doable. And really, run some business numbers and realize if it's just you and a buddy working behind a counter, how much would it take for you to survive and be happy? And if that number doesn't add up, how much do you like it? Sacrifice is everything. If you're a creative, just go do it. I know it's stupid advice, and I know that everybody says it, but I mean it. I've not done it, and I've done it. And I would literally rather play and lose than not play.
Yeah. I think that's an awesome sentiment to wrap it up. So with that, podcast officially over.
Boom.
Thanks for listening to the Beat the Often Path podcast. If you've been enjoying this show, please like, comment, share, subscribe on Apple Podcasts, subscribe to me on YouTube. It would mean the world to me. Also, do you have an unusual success story, or do you know someone who does? Well, please recommend them to me. They could be a future guest on this show. Maybe they've rolled the largest boulder down the mountains of Tibet, or maybe they built the world's largest chicken farm in Madagascar. The point is, I don't know what I don't know, so I'm looking for inspiration and unusual success stories. So help me by being a part of this adventure. I'm looking to grow this podcast with you. Thanks again for listening.